Until very recently, I was a project manager for the Department of External Intelligence, a government organization tasked with probing the boundaries of human consciousness and unraveling mysteries beyond the paranormal. The things I have witnessed far exceed our expectations of the universe and shouldn't remain hidden, even if the truth is horrific. If you are reading this, I am so sorry for what is to come. When I was younger, my parents pushed me hard for good grades. Giving me the life they never had seemed to be their only duty, even if it meant that my childhood suffered. And I gave them what they wanted: the best marks in school, the hope of a successful career, and lots of money. Unfortunately, nobody, not even my cruel father, could have predicted that I would end up working for a secret branch of the government, one whose sole duty is uncovering facts that the mortal mind can barely comprehend. I started as a data analyst, but the executives soon realized that my skills could be better used elsewhere. It took just a few tests for me to be introduced to the psychical experiments sector, aimed at identifying uses for psychic phenomena. I was deemed to have special abilities and was told I could tap into a realm that few humans could. For a while, I was an agent for remote viewing. Essentially, my mind was used to spy on foreign nations. With some meditative steps, I was able to visualize complex environments and assist our army in pinpointing the locations of enemy bases. Was this ethical? I don't know, but it provided me with a sense of accomplishment, so I continued to do it. The more important I became in my job, the more I had to hide from my family and friends. My parents died thinking I was a pencil pusher for the government, and the few relationships I've had have remained short due to my secret life. The longer I've stayed with the department, the more information I have been given. But it was only once I became appointed as a project manager that I learned details that, if leaked, would change the world forever. I'm sure you have noticed the increased sightings of UFOs or UAPs in recent years. Their frequency has been at the center of my new position in the department. You see, these aren't vehicles piloted by little green men, they are beings themselves. Classified internally as seraphs, these entities have been visiting us for centuries. The Bible called them angels, the Quran named them malaika, but they are the same things that have been seen in the sky of every continent on Earth. I was told that they didn't know where they came from or why they had visited us. Sadly, for them, I have a unique intuition and knew that was a lie. I had spent many hours in the office after hours, dissecting classified documents and logging into computers above my access level. The more vivid the details became, the more I questioned my actions. What if I uncovered something I didn't want to? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, a silly metaphor for a twisted reality I was soon to live. It took me many months, but I eventually pieced together why the 33rd floor of our building is off limits. The Department of External Intelligence has been communicating with the Seraphs and has a machine built for this sole purpose. Last week, I used the device. It was a day like any other, at least that was the role I played. I scanned my card to enter the building and made my way to my office on the 24th floor. I put on a happy face as I greeted my companions in the rustic elevator, patiently waiting for the neon green screen to tick higher while soft synth sounds filled the cramped space. Finally reaching my secretary, I cleared my schedule and began to set the plan into motion. I couldn't take the elevator to my destination. The button skipped straight from 32 to 34. However, I did learn that a maintenance ladder runs up the building's spine. Applying some remote viewing techniques, I discovered an access hatch on floor 28, behind some servers. This was all I could gain as the department recently installed consciousness dampeners, blurring my external vision. Getting to the server room was easy, and it took but a small distraction to enter the hatch as I began climbing the maintenance ladder. I was on the 28th floor, but looking down, it seemed as though the shaft stretched into an infinite abyss, with no end in sight. The department was unlike any other building, with winding corridors and frequent cases of spectral appearances. A ladder stretching to an impossible darkness seemed on brand. Entering the 33rd floor took some time, but with some minor effort, I was in the sector that only executives had access to. Standing in what appeared to be a reception area, the silence of my new environment startled me. I expected a welcoming party and planned to use my charm to reach the final destination. The department's building was informally named the Monolith, due to its brutalist design and tall concrete walls. The 33rd floor was no different, with a ceiling that stretched higher than one would have expected the facility to accommodate. The area I was in was adorned in a familiar old-school look featuring Persian carpets, homely lamps, and box computers. We were told that vintage technology offered better protection against hackers. I stood facing a door labeled Testing and Research. It seemed like the sign I needed, so I swiftly made my way through. Presented with a long corridor, I knew that my goal stood at the end. Walking past the many doors to my left and right, I saw what appeared to be ancient symbols. The sounds I heard from each of them were almost indescribable. Some seemed like soft moans, while others appeared to be painful screams. I have no idea what was being done in these rooms. The double wooden doors at the end of the corridor clashed with the concrete surrounding it, but I suppose this was another example of the department's unique style. Before I swung the doors open, I noticed the digital camera in the corner. I had surely been caught, so there was no time to waste. To say I was shocked by what I saw would be an understatement. I had expected a massive machine with tubes and towering screens. Instead, the room contained only a leather couch facing a bulky CRT TV perched on a wooden stand. There was nothing else. No furniture, no monitoring equipment, just an outdated entertainment setup in a cold concrete space. I edged closer and saw a remote resting on the couch. Surprisingly, there were no numbers, and the only button was a round red one for power. I had come this far, so I did the only thing that made sense. I sat on the couch, pressing the button. Bursting alive, the ocean of static flooded my mind, and it became clear that this was the machine I was after. It's hard to describe, but I felt as though I entered a state where time had no meaning. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. A seraph was there with me. I could sense them. It didn't speak words, yet I understood what was being communicated. Closer to a feeling, information appeared in my mind as though I manifested it, but I knew it was foreign. It was as though the seraph spent a few moments within my skin. At first, I asked my pre-planned questions. I wanted to know where it came from and why it was visiting Earth. I quickly learned that languages developed by humans are a prime illustration of our insignificance in the universe. This is the best way I can put it. If you think about a house, with every room being a planet, we can move from one room to another, a crude metaphor for space travel. If we are sitting in the living room, the seraphs have always been here, in a place that occupies the same space, but in reverse, mirrored dimensions, two areas next to each other, but because they are back to back, one doesn't notice the other. The seraph told me that the reason that so many of them have decided to visit us is that they are partaking in a great harvest. They have made their way through many universes, and now it was our turn. Human souls hold special meaning in their existence, and it is only through our death that they can be harvested. Through it all, I had no fear. The seraph comforted me and guided me along each stage of the conversation. It whispered wise truths and made me feel as though my normal life had been but a dream compared to true reality. With my mind barely comprehending the secrets I had learned, the TV zapped off, leaving a brief imprint of static as it slowly turned pitch black. I had been told too much, perhaps more than I wanted, and so I ran to the door. By the time I had reached the floor's hatch, 2 department officials were already there to arrest me. Their voices appeared calm, yet the grip on the concussion devices remained firm. They had a clear intent to take me down with whatever force was necessary. What happened next, I don't remember. It seems as though a few minutes were wiped from my memory. I recall putting my hands behind my head in surrender. When I came to, my hands gripped the jagged edge of a broken lamp, with corpses slumped at my feet. 2 dead bodies lay before me, mangled into a portrait of ripped flesh. I had to escape. I would surely be locked up for something I don't remember doing. Diving into the maintenance hatch, I flew down the ladder as quickly as I could, racing out of the building while trying to hide the blood on my clothes. I believe some people saw the stains, but they could have just as easily been staring at a madman running through a government facility. I am writing this message on a library computer. I dare not go home, as I will surely be found there. On the run for 7 days now, I don't know what is going to happen, but the world deserves to know the truth. Great pain and mass deaths are coming. I know this because the Seraph has continued to talk to me, giving me instructions for the coming months. I refused to die, and so I made a deal. I will help them. I will be a harvester in human form. In return, they will ensure that my soul remains eternal. My whole life I have been controlled by my father, by the department, but this pact was mine to make. For the first time in my life, I felt powerful. If you are reading this, I am so sorry for what is to come. Hold your loved ones tight and enjoy the time you have left. We will find you. You cannot hide forever.